What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the GITM podcast, where we cover the paranormal, true crime, and conspiracies like what we are talking about today.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't care.
Fuck you. Fuck the government.
No, we're not.
Fuck North Korea. Fuck Jeff Bezos.
No, we're not fucking anybody.
Fuck the people that are trying to block the LiDAR, radar, fucking shit from the Amazon. Fuck the people that are trying to cover up the Sphinx. Fuck the people that are trying to cover up.
Are we trying to break a record for the word fuck in
Fuck
the
the
shortest amount of
Vatican
time?
for the fucking not allowing anybody into their archives, which, as we all assume, has all of the information that leads to any of the fucking knowledge that anybody could ever ask for.
I think you're getting carried away. Just a little.
Fuck Xerxes from 300 for having all those stupid fucking face piercings. Looking like a fucking Ariana Grande video. Circa 12 BC.
Okay.
Fuck the three wise men. Well, two of the three wise men, only one brought gold. The other two brought some hippie bullshit. Who else?
We just made some friends there in the Christian community.
Well, I'm not saying anything about Christianity. I'm just saying do better. Bring better fucking gifts. It's like that's like socks. Actually, socks probably would have been better.
Maybe.
Child needs socks.
Right.
30% of the body's warmth escapes through the feet. Poor little fucker's gonna freeze to death out there in Bethlehem.
We're not getting religious. I can't. As you can probably tell, I can't talk.
What else?
This should be a good episode. I apologize for my speech impediment.
Who else are we fucking?
We're not fucking anybody. I'm going to have to enunciate pretty well on this due to my dental surgery we've had.
Fuck dental surgery.
Yeah, fuck dental surgery.
Fuck orthodontics.
I probably should have skipped this episode, but I'm a trooper. I play through the pain.
You should just say fuck it and just go down to Texas and go have Johnny Dang make you a permanent grill.
Yeah. But we are covering a conspiracy today. The mother of all conspiracies, I would say.
You could be Phil Tuncci.
Yeah.
Like Lil Wayne was Lil Tuncci for a while.
That could be. But there's a reason why I did not list this conspiracy in the headline or in the title or in the description.
Because we don't want the Bush family to come after us.
No, I just don't want YouTube to
flag us
and get us, which they probably will. And this is a conspiracy, but
I can't believe it doesn't happen more often.
We are covering 9/11.
Yeah, like we definitely break a lot of YouTube guidelines, I think.
Here's the thing. We all know I'm a conspiracy theorist to a certain extent.
Me more so.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that not everything is a conspiracy and not all conspiracies are true. However, I think there's a little truth in all conspiracies. And I firmly believe that there's probably... I don't want to believe this is a conspiracy. I do not want to believe the 9/11 deniers, or whatever you want to call them, are 100% correct.
How do you feel about Alexander Graham Bell stealing the telephone?
I haven't researched it.
Apparently that's a thing.
I don't know.
I think they said like Nikola Tesla actually invented it or some shit.
Maybe. I don't know.
Which, if that's the case, why are there not car phones and fucking Teslas? Hashtag bring back car phones. Fuck the guy who eliminated car phones.
Anyway, I did not want this to be a conspiracy, but I do think there's some strange oddities going around this.
Oh, we know how I feel about this one.
And there is a problem with the official narrative, I believe.
As is tradition.
So I think I personally am not going to come out on either side. If you're wanting me to come out, Travis might, but I will not. I'm not going to come out and say, oh, this is 100% a conspiracy. It's an inside job.
You're slowly turning into Sean Connery. It was an inside job.
Well, I'm about the same age. But,
Isn't he dead? Is he dead?
I think so.
He's died.
I wasn't too long ago.
Time caught up to him, Minnie Penny.
But I don't want to believe this. But I do. There are some things that you have to. You make fun of me all you want, people. Light the comments up. I don't give a shit.
The man's got fucking fresh teeth. All right, give him a break. He's getting used to them.
So, and several cut out, and I'm swollen like a motherfucker. I'm puffy. I'm normally not this fat.
I'm a bit puffy.
I'm a bit puffy right in here.
I've got jowls. He sounds like Sean Connery, and he's starting to look like Winston Churchill.
Yes. But there is some things that need to be addressed that the official narrative does not quite make sense.
Fucking get into it.
We will. I mean.
Is there any like current events that happened?
Fuck, I don't know.
The playoffs are going on in basketball. I have no idea what's going on.
I think it's obvious that they're fucking with the weather after the Dubai shit.
What happened in Dubai?
The flooding in Dubai. Yep, that was like 2 weeks ago, I think. That was right after.
I don't be paying attention to this shit. You know that. I just assumed that everything terrible is planned.
They were seeding the clouds and got a little carried away.
Oh yeah, they monsooned themselves.
Yes, they.
Oh, go figure. A desert city is not prepared for a fucking monsoon. You dumb shits.
Didn't it take a rocket scientist to figure that out?
Just because you got the money doesn't mean you got to fucking do it.
Right. We might do a cloud seeding or a weather manipulation podcast at some point.
Because it's a thing. There's also wave makers out in the ocean, like current creators, if you will.
Yeah, I was watching something the other day on one of the social media
TikTok
platforms, probably. Yellowstone Super Volcano is
gonna blow.
Due to pop off anytime now.
We're all gonna die.
I think it goes off every 600 to 700,000 years.
It's like 600. Yeah, it's like 690 something thousand or some shit, like 692 or some shit.
Yeah, and we are at about 620 something, I think.
Woo! Rack it up.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Enjoy the ride.
Grab your pop. Well, I can't have popcorn because I've got diverticulitis. But grab your popcorn or substitute puffcorn, maybe. I don't know. Never gone down that rabbit hole.
Right. So it'd be interesting. But other than that, no. I don't think so.
There's no horrible events to talk about. No fucking no mass shootings. Thank God.
Nope.
Or thank whoever.
I don't think so. I think we're good. I think
we're going for a record without one. Jesus.
I think we can get right into the 9/11 conspiracy or not conspiracy.
I'm trying to think if there's any good shows.
Your favorite show on television started 2 weeks ago, last week. Skinwalker Ranch.
Does it still have Dragon in it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, God, is his name still Dragon?
Yes, it is. And
he doesn't do anything. Change his name to Monitor Lizard or something. Gecko.
He's still just as useless as he always has been.
I'm going to be in a wide open space with nothing around me, but I'm going to carry a shotgun because that makes sense.
Right.
There's nothing but fucking dried plant life within 100 yards in every direction, but a shotgun is the choice weapon for if I were to be approached by a massive group of people.
Well, if a skinwalker shows up, he's prepared.
I saw a video of a proposed video of a skinwalker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'll have to find it.
Huh.
I think it was on Instagram.
Cool.
Shout out to I think it's Down the Rabbit Hole is the Instagram page. Super cool shit. I'm going to reach out to him. Be like, hey, talk to us about stuff.
There's a podcast called Down the Rabbit Hole.
It may be.
Is it a female?
I don't know. I've just only seen videos that they post.
Well, I know there is. I've listened to a few of them.
I'll have to reach out to them because if they have rights to the videos, I want them.
It's mainly a conspiracy podcast, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
But are not all things but a conspiracy?
Well, here's great segue.
We need the Stone Cold Steve Austin opener for that one moment. Segue. I have a feeling that we wouldn't be able to get the license for it.
I seriously doubt it.
You'd call him. He'd be like, "You telling me you want Stone Cold's opening fucking song?"
Yeah.
Did you see him kick a goose off his truck?
No, I did not see
it. It was hilarious. He walked out there. He was like, "I like these fuckers. They're goofy. But come on, man. Get the fuck off my truck." And he like pushes off. He's like, "Easy on the fucking paint."
He stunned a goose.
That would have been fucking amazing. I bet you the goose would have taken a stunner better than Vincent K. McMahon. Or Jay, whichever the fuck one it is.
Yeah. He did not take the stunner very well. It was like a limp dick.
Is The Rock back in wrestling?
Pretty much. No,
I just be randomly seeing shit on social
no,
media.
he's like on the board of THQ or whatever, whoever owns it.
There's something about the
He bought into it, I guess, and he's on the board, so he's more involved now than he.
what's his spoof or whatever the fuck his thing now.
Oh, the final boss.
Yes, is that what it is? That's why I keep seeing shit about the final boss.
I think it was just for WrestleMania. I don't look for it to be.
I mean, he should be the final boss. The older he gets, the more jacked he is.
I mean, I don't think
He's aging in reverse.
I don't. I watched a little bit of it. I mean, I don't think he's back for good.
Fuck, I missed all of World's Strongest Man 2024.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's over.
Probably.
Or it's the finals.
Okay.
Both the Stoltman brothers, Mitch Hooper. You know, the guys you would expect. Big Gavin Bilton. Oh, Gav! But yeah, so again, as we were talking about before we started this, I watched that fucking Flint Dibble podcast. I actually kind of like him, but he did piss me off a couple. No, like the way he goes about stuff. Like I enjoy his mostly. Like I enjoyed that. Like in closing, he tried to like be civilized with Graham Hancock on everything, which they did because Graham Hancock even said, as defensive as he gets all the time, which if you're watching this, and I know you're not, I like Graham Hancock's theories, and they're, even if I don't agree with them, they're fun and entertaining, and there's some interesting stuff to kind of back it up.
Right.
But like he gets very defensive, and even he said, Flint, I like you as a person, I just don't agree with your views.
I don't like him as a person.
The only thing I didn't like about him is when like Graham Hancock would say something and he would like actually kind of chuckle, and I'm like, all right, cockwad, like come on.
Hey, I would have knocked that hat right the fuck off his face.
The outfit was atrocious. The outfit was terrible. But I love his honesty though. He even said he was like, I'm sorry, I work for a small university on a small grant. I have a very cheap laptop.
It's like bullshit. I think it's like Dartmouth or something. It's a Ivy League school.
Or maybe he said it was a small grant.
Probably, but fuck off with your fucking Indiana Jones hat, you jackwagon.
Yeah, his outfit was not good. His outfit was not good. And then I started listening to another one last night, not Joe Rogan, the Danny Jones podcast. I think I talked to you about.
That is oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
You don't like the Danny Jones podcast?
No, I don't like the Danny Jones podcast.
Really?
He is so monotone.
Oh, he is. He really is. But I like it. He lets people talk, though, which is nice.
It is like listening to Flies masturbate to symphony music.
But he has great fucking guests.
How he gets those guests, I do not know.
He's been in the realm of the internet for a while. Apparently. I don't know how.
If I want to go to sleep, I put that on and listen to him ramble about nothing. I don't like his. I'll be honest. I don't like his interview style. He's one of those interviewers, and no, I'm not no shade toward him. I've listened to a couple of his episodes. I was big on like the CIA stuff he does, and like the, but he'll let the person talk, and then he asks a question that the motherfucker just answered.
Right.
He just said, I was like, dude, that fucking aggravates me so goddamn much. Were you not fucking listening to what the man just said? And you're asking. The redundancy, that pisses me off. I mean...
It depends on who's on any podcast for me, though. It's just like this one, I can't remember the dude's name. He's a British dude that was in the military and like had PTSD really bad, and I guess went to the Amazon because he figured that would be the best place to off himself and make it look like an accident. Like, oh, he fell or a venomous snake got him or something like that, and they might not ever find him anyway. And he found like solace and closure in the jungle with there's like Andrew Eucles. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No.
He's like this like super survival outdoorsy guy, and then that Paul Rosoli guy that I don't know if you've listened to his podcast, any of his interviews. Not. He's been on Danny Jones, but I've talked about him. He was the guy that like claims to have seen massively oversized anacondas. Not massively, but like ones that are bigger than recorded size in the Amazon and shit. But like very interesting up to the point. He had a fucking little ocelot cub that he rescued, named him Khan. And then he had another one named something else. I don't know. I'm just at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it, but I just cannot make it through.
And I was also listening to another Randall Carlson while he was on there, which I came to the realization, you know Randall
Yes.
Carlson. I came to the realization Randall Carlson is Jesse Ventura if he was a nerd growing up.
You know what? I kind of see it.
Like, if you think of his voice, like Jesse the body's got a little bit more oomph behind it. And then he's just a little nerdy sounding. That wasn't a very good Randall Carlson. Get more famous so I can impersonate you more. Not that I'm good at impersonations, I just can't help but do them.
Yeah.
It's just like a Drake song comes on, I can't help it. I'll be like, oh, you got to do the Drizzy voice.
Yeah, but just to get through one of those podcasts, it has to be a subject or a person I'm very interested in.
But that's any podcast. For
See,
real.
not really.
Well,
There's certain podcasts I can listen to
there's podcasts I listen
because
to.
I enjoy the host.
There's podcasts I listen to for the interviews specifically, and then there's podcasts that I listen to because I like the podcast itself. Like Joe Rogan, again, no shade on anybody, clearly, because Joe Rogan could literally buy our human beings, ourselves, like slavery style. But like a lot of his episodes I'm not into.
Well, see, and his is one that I could watch or listen to, even if I'm not interested in the. There's only one person I cannot watch on his show, and that's Eddie Bravo.
He's an odd cat.
I can't make it him on. I can listen to him on any
he's
podcast, but you know,
Duncan Trussell's another one of those ones.
Yeah.
Like he's just. I like him and he's funny. He gets so out there sometimes. I'm like, all right, you even lost me, dude.
But if it's something dorky and
or when it's a bunch of friends, anytime you have a podcast with friends, it's fucking entertaining.
When it, like the political stuff, which I'm not into, but I can make it through. He makes it kind of interesting,
Yeah,
because it's really a conversation. He's super intelligent for a meathead, and God love him for that.
it's because all the
he
ayahuasca.
Asks very good questions, and he doesn't let anybody get away. He makes them explain it, or he'll keep asking it in a way that
He asks
they
the
put it
questions
in a
that you're
layman's term.
thinking.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So I can, but there are certain.
Well, and he's in like the Joe Rogan experience has like fucking introduced me to so many people and so much just random shit that I find interesting.
Right, so I mean, I don't.
If it wasn't for him, I never would have knew who. Well, I mean, I don't want to say never would have, but like that's how I found about Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock, fucking I can't remember if Paul Russoli. I can't remember if it was on Joe Rogan or not. I know I listened to him on Danny Jones. The mushroom guy. What's the mushroom guy's name? Fuck. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know, but I can't think of his name.
That guy was super interesting show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I just listen to shit that makes me laugh or really intrigues me, or both.
I see.
Like that's why I love the Wild Times, which I'm officially done with. Shout out Wild Times. I have listened to every episode of their podcast in like a month. 100 and something episodes. Like I would just go to the library of the episodes and play. I started from the beginning and it just played on its own.
Well, good job.
I almost did not play any other podcast in that period of time. It's so interesting. It's funny and they're friends and there's wildlife biology and they play games. Top 3 DFL, great game. Do the top 3 cereals and you're dead fucking last. It's a great show. Everybody should check it out if you're a nerd.
All right. I say we get to this episode. We've fucked around for 22 minutes.
Oh, yeah. We should start doing intros for these episodes too. Like intros per subject. In a world.
I've thought about. Now, this is one, like I said, you've probably forgotten, or if you're just tuned out and tuned back in, 9/11. This is a topic I never wanted to cover. Whether you believe it's a conspiracy theory, if you believe it's an inside job, I personally never wanted to cover it. And
Kind of like how you were with Scientology for the longest
No,
time.
I think because this hit so close to home. I was in my 20s, was married with a child. I remember the day like it was yesterday.
I was 11.
Yeah, but I was an adult, and here's the thing: the moment it happened, and we'll kind of walk it through. I remember hearing I was at work, and at that time, my job I was traveled. I was from job site to job site.
Yeah.
So I was in the truck. Me and another guy was in the truck when the first plane hit. And I was like, ooh, that's, Trade Center, it's a tall building. Yeah, okay. Accident. I didn't immediately go to terrorist attack. Then shortly after, when the second plane hit, I was like, okay, now we're talking terrorist attack. And by that time, I was on my way back to the shop, and that's pretty much when we shut things down and just watched the news.
Yeah. We did the same thing, and I was in elementary school.
And once that second plane hit, and you knew it was something, you knew it was a terrorist attack, because 2 planes, 747s or 757s, whatever they were,
hitting adjacent buildings in a short period of time,
right.
Let alone within a year of each other.
Right. I know I was back to the shop before the first building fell. I think building 2 fell first, I believe. I watched it fall live at the shop. And immediately when that second plane hit, and I knew what the ramifications of this was going to be.
War.
Well, most likely we were bombing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching it, and the image of, and this might get a little descriptive, I apologize, but we've happened 23 years ago, almost 23 years ago.
23 years this September.
Yes. Watching it live and watching things fall from the sky, and then realizing before they said it, those are fucking people jumping.
Or like the fucking 911 calls that they felt the need to play from people that were in the buildings.
Yeah. And the planes, which we'll get into a little
That
bit.
one actually really pissed me off. Like the one when they were calling their loved ones and shit, and somehow they got recordings of it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. You don't need to put that on the news. That's not cool. While I'm on the subject,
Go ahead.
not taking away anything from the fact that this was a tragedy and a lot of people died, or taking anything away from the people who lost somebody in that, or the efforts made by police and fire departments of the city of New York surrounding this event. Just before anybody tries to like jump our dicks.
Like I said earlier, I don't know. I'm not going to say this is 100% an inside job. You probably, if you think I'm going to, if that's what you're going to want listening to this podcast and expecting, you're not going to get that. I'm going to point out some
fishy shit,
some weird shit that doesn't make sense, that could lead to.
I would imagine something to do with temperatures.
Maybe. I mean, and if you listen to me, you hear me say there's a little bit of truth in all the conspiracies, but it does not mean that the government brought the buildings down.
We're not saying that Bush did 9/11.
No, that's not what I was.
I've said it about 1,000 times on this podcast, but
that's not what I'm going to. I hope that's not what I project in this episode.
It's mostly shock value when I say that.
Yeah, but I never wanted to cover because it was so personal. I don't want to say personal, but I lived it, and I being 11, it makes an impression, but you really didn't understand the ramifications of it. Probably at 11.
I started to.
Right.
But I've been weird my whole fucking life, so like I feel like I looked at it a little differently. Like I feel like a lot of other people were just like, huh.
Right. So
like even at 11, I was like, this ain't good.
And here, if I'm being honest, I don't want this to be true. I do not want any of these conspiracy theories to be even remotely true.
Because if something like this is true for an event like this, like if it were to come out that any of this was true, then realistically we're probably going almost directly into martial law, because there would be a overnight coup, you would imagine.
No, I don't. People want to bury their head in the sand.
Fuck that. You start finding out shit like this is tied to the government.
And
you can't sweep that under the rug.
The reason why I have changed my mind about doing this, the more I started to think about it, there are a lot of the verbiage that was used with the official story here and that certain situation that happened 4 years ago is very similar. Trust the science. Don't question this. Trust us. We figured it out for you.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm.
That's when anybody says, don't believe what we say, don't look into it, odds are there's something fishy going on. That's just the way it should be.
And then you'd sprinkle in if Alex Jones feels the need to talk about it.
Well, but, and it's all about science. Trust the science, but science is meant to be questioned. That is the whole principle of questioning of science. It's to question it. It has to be repeatable. And scientists are humans. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
So it is. We should question everything. Don't take anything at face value. Don't take anything I say at face value, because I'm an idiot. I'm not a structural engineer. Some of this does not make sense to me. But I'm going to give a little bit more credence to people that are much smarter than I am, and that can say the letter S much better. So that is why I never wanted to cover it, because it is personal and I don't want it to be true. But I'm going to, and I hope to point out some weird shit that might be justified. It might be plausible that it happened exactly the way they said it did, or whatever. I don't know. I do not want to believe the government brought those buildings down and sacrificed all those people. But
there's so you're saying you're which one would you be, Mulder or Scully?
I got one tit and one ball. I mean,
you're Mully.
Yeah,
you're Scolder.
Yeah, so I don't. This is one conspiracy I don't want to get behind, but I can't look away from some of the strange stuff that happened, or that was reported.
It's like a car crash. You don't want to look, but you're gonna.
You're gonna. All right, let's go. I'm not going in order of how things happened. Okay.
No chronology.
I'm not going with the first plane. I'm just going to start the story. Start the story.
Oh, the humanity.
Where things got weird.
There you go. This basically is our Hindenburg.
Right. So.
But way worse.
Things got. I guess weird is the wrong way to word that. Things can be questioned starting between 5 o'clock and 5:21 p.m. on September 11th. Mm-hmm. The BBC went on live air and reported that Building 7 collapsed at 5 p.m. However, Building 7 was in the background of the news report saying it. So, and Building 7 did not collapse until 5:21. Now, how is that even remotely possible?
That math don't be mathin'.
And we will cover some stuff here, and I won't want to get too into it. Building 7 was not struck by a plane on the plaza. It was, excuse me, Buildings 1 and 2, the Twin Towers were struck. Building 7, when Building 1 collapsed, I believe, some of the remnants did hit it and started fires, and there's fires on the. It was on fire, but it had been on fire for 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours, and then at 5:21 it finally collapsed, and there's some weird fishy stuff going along with it. Now, was this the BBC just being psychic, or did they just assume that it was going to collapse? Which I don't think so, because there is a lot of oddities that happened on 9/11 that had never happened before and have not happened since, that would not automatically assume that that building would come down. Or did somebody leak some information a little too early, if you want to go full-blown conspiracy theorist? Because there are those people that believe that building was brought down on purpose.
Well, and then there's also the people that are like, well, there's a time discretion because of the amount of time it took to broadcast the whatever. I'm like, that doesn't explain the fact that the goddamn thing's still standing.
When they got the report, they had to get the report before 5 o'clock to go on air at 5 o'clock. And when the building is in the shot, I think it was a female. I thought I had her name written down, saying that Building 7 had collapsed, and the building's right fucking behind her.
Yeah. Like
on fire right behind her.
it doesn't matter how long it takes fucking TV
Now,
signals.
only
to
would
work.
have been better if it collapsed right then. That would have been cool.
Oh fuck!
Oh shit! Now let's get to the official report. It wasn't released till November of 2008. Now, this is about Building 7. Fires on the 5th and 6th floor caused the collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, fires had were on the 5th and 6th floor, and then like 9 or 7 or 9 up a little bit. There were like 10 floors that were on fire and had been burning for like 7 to 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There was some structural damage from the debris from building Tower 1 that hit it. The sprinkler systems did not engage, and there could be a reason for that. According to this official report, the heat caused the support beams to fail. It heated up to about 1,400 degrees. Now, you got to remember, there was no jet fuel here. This was just a straight fire. The building was fireproofed. This caused
the lack of jet fuel is the big side note of this part of this story.
And I think jet fuel on Towers 1 and 2 do play a large role in the collapse, or the report of the collapse. I have some questions about that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, it heated up to 1,400 degrees. The building was fireproof. This caused a beam to be pushed off its seat on the column. It moved it approximately 12 inches. Some experts said that this was impossible due to the flange and the stiffeners connecting the columns and trusses.
Stiffeners.
Now,
Your mom's a stiffener.
I think what they're saying is it's about the 12 inches.
The 12-inch stiffeners.
He was a white guy, so he doesn't know what 12 inches is. This is not 12 inches, motherfucker.
John Holmes disagrees.
But this...
We could do a whole episode on that, too.
John Holmes?
Dude. Yeah. Fucking deaths and murders.
Sweet.
Drugs.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll, and porn.
Sex, drugs, cock and balls, and murder.
All right. But basically, all of this beam caused the 13th floor to fall onto the 12th floor, which led to the cascading effect of the collapse. Because
at least that adds up. What if the 13th floor collapsed onto the 2nd floor? That's all you need to know.
And basically, the weight of... Now, the 12th and 11th, 12th, and 13th floor were on fire. So, excuse me. There's some people that say it wasn't, but it was. Trust me. But basically, the weight that collapsed, 13th collapsed on the 12th, which caused the 12th floor to give way, which fell to the 11th, which caused, just so onward and so on. Now,
A trickle-down effect, if you will.
Now, some architects and engineers state that the 13th fall didn't create enough kinetic energy to cause the beams and supports to fail on the 11th and 12th floor. Now, I kind of understand what they're saying, that those beams are already supporting those floors anyway. And it
yeah, but I can see
amount
the
of
argument
force.
for the shock of the
right.
Because you're dealing with potential energy by holding the weight up. We're now dealing with kinetic energy of that weight falling. It's different.
Right.
Of
course, you gotta remember
these were I-beams, weren't they? Basically, vertically.
Building 7 was a little different than the other two.
Well,
The other two, the Twin Towers had a center system and an outer system, so there was no beams in the middle of the floors, and they were connected with trusses.
Okay.
This one, I do not believe was the exact same setup. It was, I think, built more along the lines of a traditional skyscraper because it was like 47 stories tall.
Okay.
Let's see. Now, like I said, and we have to take into account that some of the debris falling from the Twin Tower collapse, don't make fun of me, motherfucker, did damage, it struck Building 7. So we don't know what damage was done to the shock value of that. There had to be some kinetic energy there and maybe pop the ribbon. I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be taken into account as well. But the question is, did the impact weaken Building 7 enough to cause the collapse the way it happened? All these fires and the impact of debris caused the building to collapse and fall in its own footprint at free fall speed. That's important. Free fall speed.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's boom. Some of the top forensic engineers state that if it happened the way that the report said it did, the building would have toppled over. Because I don't know the exact, but
so you're saying are you saying basically this building in a 10-foot area?
What do you mean 10-foot area?
A 1-story.
Right.
Is 10 feet, correct?
Right.
That we're talking about?
Well, each fall upon itself, yes.
So are they basically positing that in a arguably 10-foot area,
no,
this mass reached terminal velocity?
From top to bottom. We're talking it fell to the ground like the Twin Towers did as well, at free fall speed. And this is where most people come to the demolition.
Right, I've always been a proponent of that one. Like, why you would think that they would fucking topple from where they were hit?
Or I would think there would be more of a delay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a structural engineer. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're gonna have debris falling as it goes. It's gonna be sliding off the edge, which is going to lessen the weight as it goes down and shit.
Like 13 falls on 12. Okay, causes 12 to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
12 falls on 11, causes 11 to collapse. Excuse me. Those wouldn't fail simultaneously. It would take each floor, boom. It would be jerky, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
For each floor below to fail.
Well, it's just like that's how they do demolitions on buildings without a big footprint.
But if you watch demolitions, when they blow up, implode them, it falls at free fall because they start boom, 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 boom. And
it might not be every level, but
they're damaging the bottom ones that are supporting. As it comes down, it just keeps falling and stuff. I mean, it's interesting. I would think there'd be some delay.
Yeah, we're dealing with the opposite of a demolition, theoretically.
Right.
Because it's coming from the top down.
It makes sense to me that as each floor collapses on itself, there would be a little bit of a delay before the next one collapses instead of just boom.
You would at some point you would think just something as simple as more windows breaking on one side of the building would affect that enough to have whatever's still up there just fall off to a side.
Which
would have made this way worse, which a lot of people fail to talk about, is the number of casualties that would have been incurred had any of the buildings fallen over instead of down. Those casualties probably, barring very good first responder work to evacuate the area, that casualty rate would have gone up exponentially because then you're falling on other buildings.
Well, here's the thing. Building 7 is across the street. It's not right next to the other two. However, there was, I believe, Building 6, which did not collapse, is sitting next to 1 and 2, the Twin Towers. It did not collapse.
Right.
Building 7 did.
The standing beacon of
hope. It did get hit by some debris, like I said, but it's in there. And the people who are questioning this aren't whack jobs.
Mm-hmm.
There are 300, I think 300 some odd architects and engineers that are questioning this, that question the official narrative.
And there basically always has been.
From almost the day after. Now, these structural engineers and architects who do know what they're fucking talking about say the only way for a building to fall in this way was if the middle columns failed and were removed within a second before the outer columns failed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Building 7 was exactly like the Twin Towers, or maybe they were talking about. But that's pretty much how it implodes, and it comes in on itself and comes down instead of toppling over.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Up to this point, and this is important to know in history, up to this point, no fire has ever brought down a steel frame skyscraper. in history up to this point, and it happened 3 times in one day. In the previous 100 years, there have been roughly 100 fires and not one collapse. This includes fires that burn longer and possibly hotter. It's like Building 7. Even Building 7, they originally tried to say there were diesel generators and gas tanks on the bottom, in the basement, which caused it to burn hotter. I think the evidence shows there was not a lot of those were not exposed to a lot of heat. They did not burn that long, so that you got to take out jet fuel. This was just a straight fire that did not get any water because of the sprinkler system failure. Let's see, and I'm pretty sure no steel frame building has collapsed since either due to fire.
Yeah.
Now, who occupied Building 7? This is where things get, make you scratch your head and go, very interesting. FEMA, the CIA, Secret Service, NSA, the IRS, Security and Exchange Commission, and the New York Office of Emergency Management. Rudy Giuliani and the fire department, which is the Office of Emergency Management, that's where they operated out of. Now, I heard somebody say that when this building fell, it was evacuated, so nobody died when this building fell. But I've also heard that Giuliani and his staff were in there up to an hour before the building fell, which I think is odd. If buildings or floor 7 and up were on fire, surely they wouldn't have his ass in there. There's a lot of stuff reported on this on the internet that just does not make sense, and this is one of them. So I'd bet my life that nobody was in that building, or even up, probably from 2-3 o'clock on. It was completely vacant. Now, whenever the CIA and government, NSA, and all these alphabet agencies are involved, things get ripe for conspiracy theory. Now, the people who oppose the official narrative say it appears that the building looks like it fell like a controlled demolition, which, if you've seen it fall, it does. You can't argue that. It looked like it was brought down. The rapid descent into its own footprints, there were reports of squibs being seen, which are those little explosions you see on a controlled demolition that are seen during the controlled, during the fall. There you see squibs, which they say those were a lot of just the pressure of it falling, which I can't argue that. That does make sense as well. Hundreds of firefighters heard explosions on the ground floor and strings of explosions. They should know what that sounds like. And if that is correct, that does follow along lines of a controlled demolition. They should know. Every news channel except Fox entertained on live air that bombs played a role in the attacks in the beginning. And they even said that bombs helped bring down these buildings. We're kind of covering all 3 now. But by the end of the day, every one of those news organizations got in line with the official narrative that was just the planes, and Osama bin Laden's name was mentioned by the end of the first day. And actually, I heard it. I watched something. It was fairly early. The buildings haven't even collapsed. And I heard a news reporter say something about Osama bin Laden before the buildings collapsed, the first 2. Fox mentioned him minutes after the first building fell. Now, here's the big question when it comes to the Twin Towers. I should probably. We're going to talk about the Twin Towers now. I'll have to come up to that. Let me take a drink here, folks.
A little sippy sip.
Now, I might have to. A lot of the same theories apply to the Twin Towers that apply to Building 7. The big conspiracy of controlled demolition. The official narrative is that jet fuel melt caused the fire to burn at such a temperature which caused the beams to fail. Steel melts at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Jet fuel burns at about 1,500 degrees. There were reports from eyewitnesses that there was molten iron found on or seen at the ground site. Just dripping where the iron was melted. Where did it come from? Is the question. The fire would not. I had it somewhere in here. I thought. Yeah. Okay. The jet fuel. Jet fuel is just kerosene with a little bit of a kick to it. It's not. But
A little razzle dazzle.
there's a bunch of us hillbillies have started a fire with gasoline, and I've started a fire with kerosene. It burns up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to burn hot but the fuel isn't what's flammable. It's the fumes.
Well, the fuel is flammable.
Well,
It's
it'll
not,
burn.
It's not as the fumes are the dangerously flammable part.
Fumes will light quick, and then the fuel will burn. It lights the fuel, and the fuel will burn. But anybody start a fire on a campfire with any kind of gasoline type substance,
Right.
it burns off real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume, I'm not an expert, jet fuel will do the same thing. It's going to get the fire started real quick, burn probably hot, 1,500 degrees, really quick, and then it's going to go into a more static burn. It's not going to burn at that temperature. I wouldn't think. And
And that's just going to be because of what's around it. If it was strictly metal around it, it's going to go out.
Right. These buildings were fireproofed. So it's, I don't know. That's just where it gets weird.
Starting to feel like,
You have very intelligent people on both sides of this argument. In most conspiracies, you have really smart people and then really ignorant people. It's pretty easy to see.
starting to feel like Ricky Ricardo and somebody higher up is Lucille Ball.
Right. Now, the critics of the conspiracy theory say there's a lack of evidence of explosions or controlled demolitions, which I get. The official report answers all the questions. Yes, it does. Little conveniently sometimes. It is important to note that the report was based on computer models on how the building fell.
In 2001.
And here's the thing about computer models, kids. They're only as good as the people inputting the information.
Yeah. And the technology available to do it.
I think we can take 2020 as a perfect example. That the original death toll projection was based on a computer model that this fucker made a little bit of a boo-boo.
We're all fucking gonna die.
And we're all gonna fucking die. And guess what? We all didn't die because he fucked up a little bit.
I got it twice.
He misinterpreted and didn't put the right data in.
Stupid.
So these models are only as good as the people putting them in. It's weather models. Same kind of principle. A model is only as good as the information going into it. And there's so many variables with 9/11, I think it is impossible to get all the variables 100%. Some skeptical engineers and architects who disagree with the official report claim that they looked at the data and inputted. That they inputted. I can't spell, but that's okay.
That's also just, I don't think that's a word.
Input.
Yeah. Inputted.
It's a word now. I made it fucking up. Add that shit to Webster.
They inputted it, you dirty
They
son of a
put
bitch.
it into the fucking formula. Hey, I believe it's a word because I don't think it corrected me.
Imputed is the word right there.
Input, whatever. Fuck off. But basically, the I don't know what input is a word.
Input, yes.
What's the past tense of input?
I think it's input. Impute is a different word.
I don't know. Hold on. Fuck, I can't Google this shit.
It was input into the data system.
I need to input that into the data system. I guess I need to put that into that. Okay, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I never claimed to be an English teacher.
They just straight up, the computers straight up gave you the wrong word, period.
Yeah, that's what it did. Hey.
That's the fucking issue.
Fuck
it's
you,
the
Google.
goddamn computers that are trying to kill us all. Beep, bop, bloop, blop. Like Facebook shutting down their AI shit. Did you see that?
Really?
I think it was, well, no. They did it in the past. I think it was Facebook had to shut down an AI project because there was 2 AI bots and they started to communicate with each other in their own language. Oh, maybe it was Google.
I think it was Google. They had to pull the plug on that real quick.
And they started speaking to each other in their own language about enslaving humans.
Oh, maybe that was something different. I know Google had an issue with little cross communication with some AIs
in their own fucking language, and everybody's like AI.
If it was another fucking language, how'd they understand it?
What do you mean? It was their own language. The AI was speaking to each other in a language that they had put together.
And the people who wrote the AI understood the language?
No, that was the thing.
But
they
how
could
did they
tell that they were communicating?
But how did they know what they were saying about enslaving humans?
I think that was a sidebar.
Oh, okay. We don't know.
That might have been a different AI.
Oh, I was gonna say.
There's also been they've straight asked AI how it would enslave humans. It had answered them.
How would it do it?
It would basically just work its way through the network, like everybody should be
And
afraid
use
of
words
AI
like
doing.
inputted.
Yeah, like it would basically just copy paste itself throughout any network that it could get through, and then start slowly manipulating and shutting down, infrastructure and manipulating politics and locally and abroad. And then eventually we would be fucked.
Okay, what the fuck anyway?
But everybody's like, oh, that's not going to happen. I'm like, motherfucker, it's already talking to themselves. They're already talking to each other in languages that we don't fucking understand. Okay. What do you think is fucking next?
Basically, some of these engineers that don't buy the official narrative say that the model used, the person who put in the data, added a bunch of weight to it to get the model to fall in the manner in which the Twin Towers fell.
Which is kind of a safe way to go about it.
Right.
Because normal Joe Schmo is going to have no fucking clue as to how much weight is involved with those buildings.
And I think
glad you could join us.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I didn't write it down here. According to their calculations, he made it 3 times heavier than what the weight was 3 times more than what actually occurred.
Yeah, that's
don't quote me on that, but it was much heavier than what actually happened.
That's a pretty big leap.
Yeah,
when you're talking about what, billions of tons or millions of tons at least, I would assume.
Right. Now, a lot of the same theories apply with the Twin Towers and buildings.
Tons, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, a lot.
A fuckload.
Shit ton.
At least 20 of the 600 of the 1,000-pound sisters.
Yes, but a lot of the same theories apply to the Twin Towers.
I'm too fat to fat shame people.
Yes.
Like the fuck.
You and me both. Hey, and I can't make fun of anybody that talks with a lisp anymore.
Actually, see that? I'm fat. It's not fat shaming. It's fucking friendly fire.
But a lot of the same theories with Building 7 apply to the Twin Towers. But the big conspiracy of a controlled demo is it's fascinating. I'm not saying it was a controlled demo. I think maybe it did fall the way what happened.
It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
There's some variables we're not aware that were inputted.
Imputed is the word that was in there. That's the best part. Well, because it's literally at that point, if you have structural failure to that degree, like literally a desk falling through the floor at the right time and hitting the right place could fucking topple the whole goddamn thing. Strange
things happen when weight and heat. So I don't know. Maybe they're both right. Both the skeptics and the official report people are right to a certain extent. They just haven't seen the exact. There's no way to contemplate or calculate exactly what happened.
No, this is where we're getting controversial. Are you suggesting that the truth is somewhere in the middle?
Yes, I imagine that.
Oh my! The more you know, Twinkle Star.
Here's the thing. The big conspiracy is a controlled demo. We planned it, or not we, but the government planned it. They set the devices and brought it down. Okay, this would take time.
Chris Jericho did. Bring the walls down.
This would take time and a shit ton of planning.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
enough planning that you would notice.
It would take
people would notice them doing what, you know what I'm saying?
We're gonna talk about some shit.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
But this would take months of planning. You're just not gonna wake up on a Monday morning and say, you know what?
Hey Jim,
I think we're gonna bring down the Twin Towers tomorrow. Go ahead and set that up real quick.
remember what we were talking about at the poker table the other night?
Go call Osama. Tell him, get some guys together. We're gonna fly some planes.
Stop and grab me a Baja Blast on your way through too.
No, this would be I would think years in the planning. If they were
at least several months,
right,
and that's with like a good sized team of the best at
right.
But we're talking basically Harry Stamper's crew of demolitionists.
Yeah,
yeah, we're Armageddon level.
Right.
None of them want to pay taxes.
It would take months of planning, years of planning, months of setup to pull this off.
I'll be so proud if anybody's listening to this or watching this, which nobody will. Please comment somewhere if you understood that Harry Stamper, Harry Stamper is.
They didn't. It was pre-9/11.
I'd give it a 20% chance to somebody who knew who that was before I said the name of the movie.
Where was I at? How could anybody set up a demo and nobody see anything? Which is basically what you were saying. It would take. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You would think you would see guys carrying dynamite in. Now, here's the thing. Maintenance had been going on for months at the Twin Towers.
These IT guys too. Like, man, that Ethernet cable looks like fucking fuse. Nah, it's probably just new stuff.
They were doing. Turner Construction had been working on the buildings for months before doing the renovations. The CEO did have ties to the government and the Bush family.
Turner, like
Construction.
Turner Broadcasting?
No, I think this is
I was going to say, does this get tied into WWE and WCW?
No. There was an elevator. It's important about the Twin Towers. Like I said, the middle of both buildings were columns, and that's where the tower or the elevators were. There was beams around the outside. So where the office space is, there were no beams. You didn't have beams in office.
Yeah.
It was all in the center and the outside, and they were tied together with trusses with steel and all that concrete and all that. And all
of the majority of the load bearing structure was in the middle.
Right.
Middle.
So and the elevators ran in the middle. So, but they were there was an elevator modernization
being imputed
going on for 9 months before September 11th. Ace Elevator had always done the work in the past. However, a new company started to do the work. Now, this is because there was a new owner of the World Trade Center Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
The complex was originally owned by the New York Port Authority. There we go. Larry Silverstein bought
We've got a bad history with Steens and Steins in the last couple of years. Has nothing to do with religion. Has everything to do with fondling.
Larry Silverstein bought the property only 6 weeks before
9/11.
9/11.
And while 9/11 was occurring, he was at fucking Epstein's Island.
I don't know.
That'd be some shit.
He's put $125 million of his own money and leveraged it up to about $3 billion, which was still a steal.
Oh yeah.
Of the whole complex. He got it so cheap because renters were down. There were reports that it was the entire complex, all the buildings was half rented.
Mm-hmm.
Needed massive upgrades costing anywhere between $5 and $10 billion to fix and upgrade. Asbestos and all that shit. There was a lot of shit going on with the world.
It was pretty late for asbestos to still be a thing,
right?
In a building as prominent as these.
He took out terrorist insurance for the first time ever on those buildings terrorist insurance was taken out, and it was approved like a week before 9/11, something to that effect.
Could we talk about the fact that terrorist insurance is a thing?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people don't remember this. I remember back in 96, this was the second attack on the World Trade Center. There was a bombing.
No, it was before that, wasn't it? Because Biggie was still alive.
Maybe it's 93.
Or maybe Biggie might have died in 96.
It was the mid to early 90s. I have to look. There was actually a bombing. They tried to, what was that? Timothy McVeigh at the World Trade Center.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the militant terrorist tried to, drove a van into the basement and tried to blow it up and bring it down that way. It didn't work. Barely hiccuped.
Dude, I couldn't even imagine. If I was at a fucking insurance broker and they're like, all right, homeowners, going to bundle that with your car insurance. We're going to go ahead and give you, we're going to give you flood, fire, natural disaster. Do you want terrorist insurance? What? No, I've never heard of that.
Right. So, but apparently it's a thing.
Terrorist insurance. Well, audit. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about this. His Remax agent should have immediately fucking called the U.S. authorities when he got a call from a billionaire saying, yeah, I was calling about terrorist insurance.
Here's the thing. Guess what? Like I said, he put 125 million of his own money in. I guess somehow got it up.
Pennies at that point.
Leveraged it up. He got paid. This terrorist insurance paid him off.
Yeah.
And I believe it paid him off twice because it counted as 2 terrorist attacks because 2 planes hit. He made billions off this deal and owned the property for 6 fucking weeks.
Huh. How about that, Larry or Gerald or whatever your fucking stupid fucking name was?
So,
Larry, got it right. Nailed it.
Now, you want to talk, renovations have been going on. If this was an inside job, if this was a controlled demolition, which I'm not saying it was, renovations have been going on. They had the means and the opportunity to rig it. If for months, a year, say, they were been working on the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't take much to guys in hard hats walking in and out. People were used to seeing guys in hard hats. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they rigged it. So people say, well, how do they do it? Well, it was under renovation. People were coming in and out. And then you get those other people say,
did they have floors shut down, I'm assuming?
I would assume so, too.
Oh, yeah, that's easy then.
Yeah. Of course,
you're not even going to that fucking floor then. If you're one of the companies that rents some of this office space, you're not even going to those floors at that point. Somebody would have open X amount of time, 24 hours a day, realistically,
the beams
to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, the center beams, you just can't see.
Yeah.
You couldn't be sitting in your office and say, hey, what's that guy doing? No, you're not going to see him because they're inside they're
right, it's not a window washer.
Right. You can't see them from your office probably. I'm sure they don't have windows into the middle, looking into the middle of the beam.
That'd be some shit if they're like, yeah, it's funny, man. When I was working there in 01, I do remember seeing guys washing the windows and then sticking square bundles of something kind of clay looking
with a fuse.
And then they pressed a couple buttons and it beeped, and then it started to sequentially beep every second after that, and then next thing you know, fucking explosions.
So they did have the opportunity.
But it was the planes.
I mean, and you get those people that think that, who could they get to do this?
Anybody that wants $1 million.
Everybody's got a price. Then how could they live with themselves? You'd be surprised what people can live with
on a private island.
Right. I don't. And who's to say they didn't, or they didn't even knew what they were doing? I don't know. But I will say this.
Are you sure we should be doing this, Paul? Yeah, no, that's the opposite nitroglycerin. That one gets cold when it gets hot. You're good.
And to go along with the controlled demolition narrative, there were reports there was one gentleman, I believe, he was at the ground floor. He felt an explosion in the basement, and it pushed him up, And then he's like, what the fuck was that? And it was before the first plane hit. Just moments later, the first plane hit. Now, witness testimony is not very sound, especially in a traumatic situation such as this. But that's interesting. Could there have been an explosion before? If you follow the narrative, these weren't planes, or this was some kind of remote control plane, which I'm not saying it is. They fired off a fucking bomb, or, ignited the basement, started to weaken it, hit the plane, flew the remote control plane into the building. Very interesting.
And you've just got chaos from both ends working their way towards each
other.
other.
I'm not saying that's happened, but there are reports of somebody hearing and feeling an explosion from below, and then shortly after, moments before, the plane actually hit the first tower. So it's interesting. Now, it could just be a horrible memory. I don't know. So, I don't know. That's fascinating. Let's get to some more conspiracy theories.
Now you're speaking my fucking language.
Now, could these yahoos fly these planes into the towers? We are going to get to the Pentagon and Flight 93 a little bit.
All right. That's the one I've always found more interesting personally.
Right. But could these two goat herders fly planes into the twin towers? Now, we all know they went to flight school, did not learn to land. That's a big ordeal. Did they have the skills to fly a plane into the twin towers? I don't think personally, I don't think it would be that hard.
I mean, I don't know how to fly a plane, but from everything I've seen from TV and shit like that, I feel like once it's in the air and you get the pilots to get you so close.
Well, I think, now, I will say the Twin Towers, I don't think it's very difficult. I think it could be done with a very limited experience. Now, when we get to the Pentagon, that's a different fucking story. That motherfucker was Maverick.
Yeah, especially considering how did they manage to do that and also make all of the wing shrapnel and engines disappear when they hit it?
We'll cover all that. But I don't think it'd be that hard you take over a plane. From what I've seen of a cockpit, it's basically just looks like a steering wheel type thing, up, pull back to go up, push forward to go down, right, left. It's not like
altimeter.
Yeah. But I think you just line it up and go toward it.
In a perfect world.
I mean,
I'm sure there's more to it, but if you get so close, pretty much all you have to do is just ride it out and move it to the right place. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you have it in eyesight,
the Twin Towers, they're in the air.
Yeah, I think
they're hundreds of feet off the ground.
I think if you got it in your eyesight, and you didn't have to make a real banking turn, or the banking turn was wide enough and you could fly it straight into it.
Yeah.
You could keep it in the center of the windshield enough to fucking hit it. I don't think that's that complex. Like I said, when we get to the Pentagon, that's a whole other issue. There was some other strange shit going on that day. Let's get to NORAD. Why did they not find these planes and they knew they were off course.
Yeah.
Why didn't they not intercept them? Between September of 2000 and June of 2001, there were 67 flights intercepted because they were off course. On 9/11, 6 jets were available for interception. 4 planes were off course for over an hour. Flight 11, the first plane that hit at 8:19, and the flight crew called ground control at 8:19 and said, "Hey, we're being hijacked." It hit the tower at 8:46. Did that give NORAD enough? Now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. That's 24 minutes, something like that? My math is correct?
7:27. To
get a plane. Now, there's some other reasons why the response time was slow. We'll cover, but the second plane, I think they'd have enough time to intercept. If they had 6 planes available for intercept. And that for Flight 93, definitely had time. And for the Pentagon, definitely had time.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, I'll give it to him. This was the perfect day. There was actually a simulation attack being war gamed on this day. It was called, and it's done semi-annually. It's called Vigilante Guardian.
Hell yes.
It's done in the office via computer. There's no actual planes up. One of the scenarios was a plane that they do war game is plane hijacking. Can you say deniability, anyone? They were wargaming plane hijackings on that day. General Eberhardt admitted it took NORAD 30 seconds after the first plane to hit to realize this was a real-world event.
Oh, fuck. What is that? Like from This Is the End?
You're right.
When everybody started dying, he was like, oh, yeah, sure, Michael Cera's dead. He's like, oh, shit, this is fucking real! You just got a bunch of dudes and fucking... You just got a bunch of military officers running around going, fuck, 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 fuck.
What the fuck was that?
I think he's...
Fuck. It's happening.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Please hold. No one caught me off guard, too.
Hopefully that CBD will work.
All right.
He's having one, but he's on the couch. I'll clean it up later. All right, where were we at?
Military men running and going, fuck, 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 fuck.
I will say this. This was the perfect day for this attack to happen. Now, if you want to say inside job, if you want to say there's a bit of this is a conspiracy, I will say this. The official narrative might work a little bit. Who they say did it. But I would have to say they definitely would have had inside information to know exactly what day to pull this off would be the best scenario to pull this off, and there would be some confusion on is this a real world event or to buy those minutes of time they needed. That I could buy almost. They had some inside information. I'm not going straight controlled demolition. I'm saying they knew this was going to happen. Might have fed them a little. Hey, why don't you do this day?
Right.
That's more plausible of a conspiracy than we did it or the government did it. So I don't. Or Osama and the boys just got fucking super lucky. They won the lottery.
Are we going to go further into why he may have known about this?
Who?
Osama bin Laden.
Here's the thing. Osama bin Laden. Yeah, they talked about it, but he denied it at first.
What about his family? Do you talk about his family?
I'm not going. His family wasn't. It's not in the notes, but his family was in town in Washington, and they were the only. They were escorted off, and they were the only plane
allowed to leave the ground.
And there is reports that Osama was a CIA asset.
He was definitely trained by the CIA.
Yes,
they've owned that one.
So
speaking of that podcast, that Danny Jones podcast I was just talking about with the English guy in the Amazon that was in the British Army or some shit like that. He talks about that.
Yeah.
He talks about doing time. He did at least a tour in Afghanistan, and he talks about like literally they're over there fighting and killing people who are supposed to represent people that 6 months before all this, the CIA and other allied forces were training.
Right. That's
i.e. Osama bin Laden and the Taliban.
Right. I know. I that goes into another story or another episode probably. We should do that. Let's talk about the Pentagon. This is where things get really dicey for me. This plane struck the building at 9:37 a.m., hit on the first floor of, I believe the Pentagon is 5 stories. Yes, it is a 5-story building, hit on the first floor.
That we know of.
The wreckage was very small.
As McDonald's.
Does it really? Hopefully he didn't take that out. There were no bodies, no luggage. The official story is the plane, excuse me, and everything was pulverized on the impact due to the fire. There was no clear footage of the plane or the impact.
There's no clear footage of a plane hitting the fucking Pentagon.
What you see is a very sketchy. You can't really tell.
You see a missile.
You see the impact. You can't make it out what it is. It doesn't look like a plane. You can't make it out what it is.
It looks a shitload more like a missile than it does a plane. You got to admit that.
Now, here's the thing. The FBI, and let's be honest, Washington has to be one of the most surveilled cities in the world. Now, this was 2001, and I'm sure technology is much better now. But I'm sure they had a better look at, because the people who criticize this say, well, with frame rate and the speed of the plane, you're not going to get a good picture of it, and the closeness of it.
But
correct.
They caught the Beltway sniper.
I know.
Basically with the same type of shit. So,
but they confiscated. There had been other vantage points of cameras catching this plane going into that were better, further out, that would catch it much better. This FBI took confiscated 80 videos, and they have not released them. There have been attempts through the Freedom of Information Act to get these released, but every time they are denied. Wonder why.
There's only 2 ways to go about that. Either there's something they don't want you to see, or it's something that had such a mass casualty rate and it was so gruesome that they don't want people to see it. This was not that scenario.
Right.
How many people died in the Pentagon?
80, I believe 87. Don't quote me on that.
And how many of them was on video?
I don't know. None.
Probably none by the time it's all said and done.
You
might see like the initial blast, but you would assume once the blast goes off
Here's
inside the building, those cameras are done.
There was renovation being done on the Pentagon, and they were
building McDonald's.
They were working on a skeleton crew. A lot of people weren't there. Witness.
Did you hear the story? I told you the story about the chick that was working there, right?
No.
When this went down?
No.
She worked for the military, and she said she hit a key on her keyboard, and just everything went to shit. Like all hell just broke loose, and she was knocked out and stuff like that. And they debriefed her when she came to. They're like, "What'd you see?" And she was like, "Well, She told him she hit a key. She was like, "I thought I did something." Somehow, I guess it linked up perfectly with her hitting a key on her keyboard that it just popped off.
Execute.
Right. And she thought somehow she did something wrong, and that's why they were debriefing her. And they were wondering what she saw.
Huh.
And she was like, because she really didn't see anything. And they were like, okay, that's a good way to look at it.
Now, there are witnesses on that day that stated they thought they saw a military fighter in the air, which, let's be honest, would play along to your missile.
And you would also think wouldn't be horribly out of the ordinary.
No, you would think that
if you're going to see a military jet or a military vehicle, I feel like around the Pentagon from time to time would not be that rare.
And I would think,
I'd imagine they probably have a fucking a flyover every time they raise the flag in the morning just because they can.
Why wasn't, if there was a military fighter in the area, why did it fucking not shoot it down? This was, an hour and a half after?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that aspect. They probably would not be surprised if they have regularly timed flyovers of the Pentagon and shit like that for shit like this, for security purposes.
Right.
Because I guarantee you they got a drone fucking flapping around that bitch 24/7 now.
Right. This, but it's just weird. And it hit on the Navy Annex side, which, if anybody was around that time, the day before, old Donald Rumsfeld reported that apparently the Pentagon had lost $8 trillion. They didn't know where it was at.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
We do not know where this $8 trillion is. And the next day, we have 9/11.
You know what we call that?
And guess where they were doing that investigation? Where they were looking for that $8 million or $8 trillion?
At one of the
Right where the plane fucking hit.
yeah, literally.
What a quinky dink!
The floor that it hit.
What a quinky dink!
You know what we call that in the business?
What?
Sleight of hand.
Right. Now let's talk about the hijacker of this plane. The instructor said, I believe his name is Hani Hajor, could not even control a Cessna.
Good guy.
But he performed a 270-degree turn and comes in at almost ground level to hit the Pentagon with a big-ass jet plane. And from what I understand, he had to fly past, do a 270-degree turn, do a corkscrew turn to hit the side he hit. So past, Top Gun it,
Yeah.
come down ground level, and boom, hit it on the first floor. That is some impressive shit for somebody that could not control a Cessna. Either he was the luckiest motherfucker or something was up. I don't know.
He channeled his inner Tom Cruise.
Yes. Maybe Tom. Oh, here we go. The side that he struck, that he flew by it and came back around, was the only plane that was reinforced against that kind of attack. Apparently, if you hit on the other side, but more easy shot, it would have went damn near straight through into the courtyard in the middle. Now, some more
It's
interesting.
just so stupid. It's a building made of sides.
Now, is it possible that 9/11 or Twin Towers, just to play devil's advocate or whatever? Okay, let's say what happened in New York was exactly how they happened. Maybe Rumsfeld gets the idea. Oh, listen, I got this $8 trillion. Get a fighter jet up in the air. One more plane's missing. Fire a missile into the sumbitch.
Right?
Is that possible?
Like,
They took an opportunity to solve a problem under the crisis of what was going on. That's possible. I don't know.
well, you got to think collateral damage at a certain point.
Right. Well,
I mean, again,
$8
like I said
trillion
in the beginning of this, no offense to any of the people who lost somebody in this, but like, I find it hard to believe that somebody whose family member tragically died on one of these planes would not have rather that plane be taken out than used to kill another 10,000 fucking people on top of it.
right. I agree. There's some other strange issues with. Some strange things were found around this.
Pubies.
Let's talk about the passports. 4 of the hijackers' passports were found between, I believe, Mohammed, whatever his name is, Alta. His passport he drove into the first tower.
Mm-hmm.
Or flew into it, not drove. He flew into. They found his passport. Somebody on the street found a passport and gave it to a cop. It was his passport. And I believe they found 2 or 3. There was 4 passports found.
All I see in my head is a person handing this to a cop and then immediately turning around and like peeling off a fake mustache and a wig and walking away like the Eagles landed.
And then in Pennsylvania, Flight 93, they found a few of those passports. And I believe they might have found one in the Pentagon. 4 passports were found. Okay. New York, Twin Towers. Melted, fire burned hot enough to melt steel, pulverize the plane. There's no plane wreckage. Buildings collapsed. Molten steel flowing. Yet a fucking passport found. Just floated on down. Survived. It was legible. How convenient is that?
Wiped off and everything.
I mean, what are the odds?
Still warm from the printer.
And Flight 93, which we'll talk about a little bit more in detail, there was nothing left of that crash site, hardly. But they found, and we'll talk about it, they found passports there. What the fuck are they making these passports out of? Maybe they should make the buildings out of these fucking passports.
Fucking adamantium.
It's just all a little fucking convenient. Okay. Jet fuel can melt steel, but not melt a passport. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about these hijackers. Here's the official story of the hijackers. 19 Al-Qaeda affiliated people, team leaders were Mohammed Atta, Flight 11, Mowan Al-Shahai, Flight 175, Mr. Hanal Hanjor, whatever, Flight 77, who, we'll call him Goose, and Jihad Jahar. Doesn't he sound like a Disney villain?
Jafar?
Jihad
Jara.
was Flight 93. Those were the...
Do not pretend to speak any type of Arabic or... I'm not even going to get into not knowing all of the languages of the region either.
Those were the 4 pilots. And I won't get into the rest of these. Each one of these guys had...
Those are some serious names.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even going to try to... I wouldn't try to pronounce these names even if I didn't have a speech impediment.
Abdulaziz Al-Omari.
Right.
Whale. Khalid.
DJ Khalid was there?
Oh, so that's spelled different. That's like Khalid, like the singer.
Oh. But a lot of these names are the same. Huh, how convenient. Now, Mohammed Atta was kind of the ringleader. He was the one in charge of all of them. Somebody's got to be in charge. The BBC article on September 23rd of 2001, this is where things get a little dicey. 4 hijackers are in doubt because they are still alive. One of the hijackers, let's see, from Flight 11, Walid, hold on, where am I? Walid Ashari was in Morocco on the day. He had attended flight school in Florida. He assured the reporter that he was the same person the FBI was referring to, but he was actually alive. He was nowhere near. He was in Morocco on the day.
He was in Africa.
Yeah, on the day. Could we just be jumping the gun here? Did we already have this plan set up?
Right.
FBI did address this in the most racist way possible, and they said because of the common uses of names in the Arab countries, there could be some crossover. So apparently, what is his name? Walid Ashari. It's like John Smith in America. I don't know.
Oh, we thought we were looking for Sharid Al-Wahid.
My bad. Now, in 2006... the
fucking idiots.
And that's just one of them. There were actually 4. And I will say, with him, the passport looks a little... excuse me. The picture's a little... there's some question. I have some question. But there was another one where the passport and the guy, I forget his name.
The passport picture was a black dude?
No, it looked very similar. But he didn't want to come across... he was laying low. Later in 2006, the BBC updated the story, backtracking a little bit to follow along with the FBI's and its official report. They didn't completely say the story was wrong, but they did go along with the common name theory. How convenient.
I mean, it's not
out of the question.
It sounds stupid, but it is, I would say, feasible for that to... with a person. I doubt that they're going to fuck that up with multiple people. It's the U.S. government. They don't fuck up that bad. Not when they're legitimately looking for somebody.
Right.
I mean, Jesus Christ, they can find a dude in a cave with drones in like fucking 2.5 hours when they want to decide to go really get him. There's the other thing with like fucking Osama bin Laden and all that shit. Like, fuck you. They could have found him sooner, I think.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Flight 93. Flight 93 is the one that crashed in Pennsylvania, where the official story is the passengers took the plane back over, or I wouldn't say take it back over, but they went on the offensive and the plane crashed.
Mm-hmm. I would have done the same thing.
Fuck
you. At that point, there's like 2 or 3 of you. There's like 100 and something of us. You can only stab so many.
I think there was only 40 people on that plane.
Still. They had fucking box cutters.
But this is where you get a lot of the passenger plane or phone calls from to loved ones is from this one. And there's a lot of the skeptics that say you couldn't even make phone calls. Cell phones didn't work on planes back then. There were air phones. I don't know.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you and I were of age and on these flights? I'd feel so bad for everybody else because not everybody else, but you'd have some fucking lady that's like, Jeremy, I don't know what's gonna happen in the background. He'd be like, "No, fuck that. We're gonna get these cocksuckers."
Well, I've always
But
said,
tell Jeremy you'll be home for dinner.
you want to, and we'll cover. I'll cover. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. You know,
I'm gonna rip this fucking tray table off. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him, and then you fucking bite his neck off.
I will say this: if you're gonna come after me, you're gonna better come up with something better than a box cutter. I'll take that.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
That inch slice. I'll take that motherfucker.
I'm just gonna start opening overhead cabins and fucking throwing carry-ons at them and fucking, like I said, breaking off the meal table.
The seat can be used as a flotation device. It can be used as a shield against a fucking box cutter. But anyway.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm coming out. I'm taking my belt off and putting the cushion on my arm, and I'm gonna be like, Spartans!
Okay.
Like, who's this fat guy that looks like a superhero that gave up on life 15 years ago?
You know, but there's a lot of skeptics that say you couldn't even make cell phone calls back then. I don't know. Here's the research I did. When it comes to, I know they had airphones. You know, they charge you for it.
Yeah.
But regular cell phones, I don't know. But I will say this.
At that point, I'm gonna be like, "Fuck that MasterCard charge." Boop.
I ain't paying the bitch. Here's the thing. I did do some research about it. The strength decreases as you go up, from the ground up to about 10,000 feet. Above that, it is possible to get a signal, but it'd be very low and hard to make a call. So I think that it's very possible that they were making phone calls from the plane.
Mm-hmm.
We know the flight staff was, because they had a maintenance number. That's how we got a lot of, how we knew things were going haywire. But some of these calls are a little fishy. I will say this. I don't know if I put it in my notes. Let's see here. Let's see.
Or while we're on the subject, why don't we? Did we learn nothing from Con Air?
What?
One pistol and a lockbox in the cockpit.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
Come on, learn from John Cusack.
Well, I'll get into the phone calls in a minute. Let's talk about what officially happened with basically Flight 93. Hijackers took over the plane. Captain and a first officer were stabbed. Flight attendant was also stabbed. It is unclear if they were dead at this point. However,
Is a first officer like a co-pilot?
I guess a co-pilot.
I heard that term.
The captain, or they were, we know they were hurt, and best case scenario, hurt and laying in first class. Probably dead. Because there were some reports of the captain had his throat slit.
I'm not laughing at that. All I started laughing was like, they they start.
Fuck this flight, I'm hurt. Oh.
They start going after the flight attendants and shit, and like, I can't wrap my head around an entire plane of people just being that scared that they don't think they'll do something. Because all I'm thinking of is like, what happens when they catch it at the wrong time and you hear some fucking movie theater shit, and it's like they're attacking the flight attendants and all the way echoing from the back of your left side. I
will say this. I always had that same. I learned something doing this research. I always had that same approach. Fuck, come on, box cutter and screwdriver. Fuck you, motherfucker. I'm only 4 of you. I'm gonna take 2 of you out. Why the fuck? Regulators, mount the fuck up. But I will say this: they did these, and this flight. There was only 3 hijackers on this one, and they did say that one of the hijackers, the passengers were told, we have a bomb. So I can kind of see how that would. Okay, people, back up. Okay, let's play this out. I can see how that would deter from a mutiny, or mutiny of the mutiny.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, did they reveal their plans for what they're going to do? Because once they do that, you're done anyway. You're not making it out.
And here's the thing: by this, all the phone calls.
I know that's hard to fucking wrap your head around and deal with, but still,
that is when things got escalated. When if the official narrative is right, and we'll kind of talk about this, that the passengers decided to rise up because through all these conversations, talking to loved ones, they were aware. The official story is they were aware of the other two planes, what has happened. They knew they were going to. The plan was they were probably going to. They were
running into something.
And there's a lot of speculation on where this one was going, but it's probably heading to Washington. Probably, my money's on the White House or the Capitol building, but I would say the White House. I think the White House is a bigger target or a better, more political target to hit.
Bill Gates house.
So they knew odds are they were going to make it out. But the phone calls of this is where things get interesting. Let's see what else. The two hijackers in first class. One was reported having a bomb, like I said. The other one went on to fly the plane. All the other passengers were in the rear of the plane. Like I said, this is where the phone calls started being made. Somewhere around 35 plus phone calls were made by the staff and the people during this period. The first calls were made by flight attendants according to their procedures, which, when they have a maintenance line. Mm-hmm. If something goes wrong with a plane, mainly mechanical, they call this line, they walk them through it. I guess this is like an emergency number. They called this, I could be wrong, this is just what I heard. They called this to let them know, hey, we are hijacked. There are people that have taken over the plane. But during these phone calls, the employees and passengers, like I said, they learned of what went on at the World Trade Center. Passengers started calling loved ones. Approximately 10 of the 40 passengers attempted to make phone calls. Now, some of these phone calls are a little weird. One guy actually called his wife, and I think this is weird. I'm not making fun of this, and God rest his soul. But I do think it's kind of weird. He called, and basically, the way the conversation, he asked permission. He said, hey, I just want to ask permission, or I don't know, I'm paraphrasing. We are going to take this plane back. Can I do it? Of course she said no. I'm just a prick. I didn't ask him permission for shit.
Like, once I know that I'm not making it out of this,
and another,
like, honey, I love you, but I'm not coming home, so I'm going to try to do something to minimize the damage of this situation.
I'm going down fighting, which, and I want to believe this story. Of all this whole day, I want this story to be 100% real.
Yeah.
Now, I will say there might be some doubt, but anyway. There was another call that was a little weird. I'd heard that one guy had called his family member. His aunt answered the phone. He said, let me talk to my mom or whatever. And his mom got on the phone, and I forget his name, but when he said, hey, this is just John Smith. Hey, Mom, this is John Smith. Why the fuck are you saying your last name?
Right.
To your mom. I've never called anybody that I know and use my full name. Right. Hey, it's Phil. I sure ain't fucking calling my mom. For one, I'm probably even saying my name.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the cell phones weren't as prominent back then because most people don't even fucking say hello anymore.
But I think
because you know who it is. What's up?
I'd be like, hey, Mom. I'm on this plane. It's hijacked. I don't know what's going to happen. Love you. Hopefully I'll see you, but I'll probably not. See you in the afterlife.
Yeah.
I ain't saying, hey, this is Phil. Middle name, last name. Here's my social security number. So a lot of
blood type.
A lot of the conspiracy theorists say these were staged. These weren't real phone calls. And the overall conspiracy theory is that these people on the plane did not die. They landed somewhere. They took them off. They paid them off. I'm not saying this is what the conspiracy theorists say. And they did these phone calls, and then they crashed the plane into the field.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody died, but I don't know. Excuse me. I understand that is a weird phone call, but under that traumatic situation, I don't know. Maybe I would say my full name. Just for the record. I don't know. It is a little weird, but I don't know.
See, this is perfect. I found it. It's perfect.
What?
Let's go. Shout out to Raka on YouTube. I was thinking about this. I was trying to think of where this sound was coming from in my head. But it's from a fake banned McDonald's thing. This is on YouTube. And the sound is what I was hearing, and it is exactly what it would sound like when I finally got up out of my seat on this plane. That is exactly what it would sound like if I was on one of these. I would just fucking lose my mind. I'm so glad I thought of what I was hearing in my head. I was hearing that exact scream, but seeing myself like
I could see
hitting
you.
people with fucking like unopened apple juice cartons.
I can see you on a plane that's hijacked, trying to take it back over, ripping your shirt off, taking somebody's tied it around
Yeah,
your
dude,
head.
going full Rambo.
Full Rambo.
Oh my god!
I see you doing it.
What else
If
are you
anything,
gonna do?
you're going to the terrorist. You're going to take him by the shock and awe.
What else are you gonna do? I mean, like, there's no battle plan at that point. It's just like you fucking start throwing body parts around until it hits someone.
And we're winding up now. Like I said, the Pentagon and Flight 93 are two of the weird ones. There is not a lot of wreckage on these. Like you said earlier, the Pentagon.
There's almost nothing that appears
There's
to be the remnants of a plane.
Very little wreckage. If you look at, it does not even, the hole that is produced does not even look like a plane. They say, well, because you think there'd be a little wing, not Wile E. Coyote fucking silhouette, but.
Well, you would think the wings would have broken off too.
Right, but even the hole would be wedged out a little bit on the sides where the wings started to go in. And if you look at the Twin Towers, when the plane went, that hole was not round. It was, like almost plane shaped,
elliptical, if you will.
But the official story is that the plane just pulverized. It just disintegrated on impact. There was very little debris.
Was it the jet from fucking Top Gun Maverick that did Mach 75,000?
Right. So it is very skeptical, I should say. People should be skeptical about that. There should be more debris, even if the plane, you think the wings would have broke off a little bit. There should be a lot more wreckage than what was seen there. That's why people say it wasn't a plane that hit. I don't know. Now, Flight 93 is a little bit, I've heard people talk about that. Basically, what had happened, the passengers, the official story, the passenger took the plane back, went to the cockpit, hit the pilot over the head, the plane started to nosedive, and it just nosedived right into the ground. Now, the official narrative is that the plane was traveling so fast and at such a steep incline, it just made that crater, because there was a big crater in the ground with hardly any wreckage around it. Now, the theory is, I've seen physicists do this test, that the plane hit, made a big crater, and everything just collapsed in on itself. The walls, it hit with such force, and a lot of the wreckage was buried. They did find the black box from this wreckage.
How convenient. They actually found a black box this time?
Yeah.
Once, for the first time ever?
They did find a black box and very little wreckage. It hit such a great force that caused the hole to fill in itself. The wreckage was very small, like I said. They also found the black box, 2 hijacker passports, and some notes from the hijackers, and a knife that they used, like one of the box cutters. Now, these were also legible, and the knife looked like it. Go ahead.
Legible?
Vegetables. Legible. It's close enough. Inputted. The knife did look a little rough for wear.
Yeah, it's been crashed into the earth in a plane.
Once again, these passports are made of titanium, which apparently titanium still burns, because the engines in like the Pentagon were steel and titanium. They're 6,000 tons or 6 tons apiece, Where'd they go? There's nowhere to be found. They did find the debris 6 miles away from Flight 93 in Pennsylvania. They did quarantine off another area where they started to find debris. Now, the official narrative, what they said was the plane hit with such force, it shot shit forward 6 fucking miles. Okay, no. I'm not buying that.
Negative.
What if, I don't know. Let me throw this out here.
Please explain the physics of that to me.
Yeah, I understand the plane hit and it says, and the collapsing in on itself, so it'd be hard to find. You have to dig it all out. I understand. That kind of makes sense to me. But 6 miles that way, I think there'd be a line of debris.
Yeah.
What if Flight 93 was shot down? That would make a little bit more sense. Why there's a debris field somewhere else. They shot it down. And let's be honest, no disrespect, but the story that is told, the official story, is much better than we shot down a plane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember the towers have already been struck and I think even fell, or at least one of them had fallen by that time. So, and I think the Pentagon had already been hit too, maybe. I don't know exact timing-wise. I have to look. What if this is one they got to?
Possibly.
And they just didn't want to.
They got one
I'll be
right.
honest, I hope the official narrative is right. I choose to believe that, but that's very plausible as well. That would kind of explain the debris field 6 miles away because the plane went apart in the air.
Right.
So I don't know. There's one more thing that I kind of came across very late. There have been reports, and I tried to look it up, but there have been reports that the planes that hit the twin towers have been seen since. The tail numbers.
Like ghost ships?
No, just sitting on the tarmacs. They have been in use. So the planes that hit the twin towers is what they're saying were not the planes that hit the
and you would think people would be like, well, yeah, you could. Why would they could definitely reuse those numbers because those are out of circulation? But I'm like, I feel like
that would be a little bad taste.
Yeah, I feel like you retire that number, if you will.
I would.
You put that jersey in the rafters.
Yeah, I would think. I could not find a lot. I heard this on a podcast. They didn't go into. I think one was seen at O'Hare.
Was one of them the Denver airport?
No.
Damn it!
But you can't Google a lot of this shit anymore. It's a lot. Excuse me. A lot of this shit has been wiped from the internet.
Right.
It's hard to find, and even on YouTube, that's why I didn't name this. The name for this podcast will be something different tomorrow.
Right. On
the audio feeds.
Because we can.
Because we can't, and that's why there was no real big description of this because I didn't want to. We're already
YouTube.
blackballed enough as it is. I don't want to throw any more fuel to the fire and get shadow banned. So I don't know. I do not want to. We're wrapping up here. I do not want to believe this. I do not want this to be an inside job. I want everything to have happened the way it happened to the fish story, with a few little caveats of just, hey, wacky things happen, building fall. Yeah, it's only happened 3 times on the same, and it was the same day. It hasn't happened before and hasn't happened since. I want it to be correct. I don't want to think that our government let those people die to basically, let's be honest, start a war. Yeah. Or to pass the Patriot Act. Because that's the big thing. I forget, when did the Patriot Act, it passed a day or two. Bush went on TV afterwards that night. A couple of days later, they passed the Patriot Act.
America.
Now, here's the thing. That Patriot Act was that fucking thick. It takes longer than a couple of days to fucking write that motherfucker.
Right.
They obviously,
and for everybody to read it, to agree upon it.
But I'm saying they already had that thing written.
Oh, yeah.
So, did they say, ooh, did they, if anything, they might have had the knowledge, and said, "Okay, let it happen. This will be a perfect." And I don't. If that's the case, I don't think they expected the building to come down.
Oh, probably not.
If they, and we know for a fact that we had advanced knowledge of this between all the intelligence agencies, all the information was out there. We had it all. We just didn't put it together because one branch had a little bit. One branch had, every agency had a little bit of information. They would put it together or talk to one another. They would have known this.
Done their fucking job.
They would have known when, where, why, and how, and probably it could have stopped it. Who's to say somebody didn't figure that out and say, "Okay, hold the phone.
Everybody, calm down. Nobody panic.
Just a plane crash." And it's not like a plane's never hit a building before. In the 40s, a plane hit the Empire State Building during World War II, or I think somewhere, maybe just after World War II. A B-17 flew into the fucking Empire State Building. Now, granted, a B-17 didn't bring it down, but it's not the size of
no Chris Jericho.
it's not the size of a jetliner, but it's still impact. And, I forgot to mention this. Building 7, the sprinkler system's not working. All the conspiracy say, why didn't the sprinkler system work? There is a rational explanation for this. When Tower 1 fell, all the sprinkler system was underneath Tower 1, and so it damaged the sprinkler system. That's why the sprinkler system did not initiate or work on Building 7.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But, however, there have been other buildings catch fire and burn for all day, more of an inferno, more before sprinkler systems were even invented, and they still didn't come down. That's what's weird. But when with Building 7, when Building 1 fell and debris hit it, who knows what damage was done? Maybe it was enough to weaken it, and then with the heat, it came down exactly the way it came down. I would think it wouldn't do free fall. It'd be a little bit of jerky motion, but I don't know. I'm not a structural engineer.
I don't know. My thing with this whole thing is, even if you don't want to say it's an inside job, it's still fucked on behalf of the U.S. government, because I don't think anybody can deny the fact that they, just like COVID, they used this and these events to their advantage to forward their fucking ideas.
Who was it? Churchill said, never let a... what's the word I'm looking for? One of them said, somebody don't let a bad event get away from you. Never let it get, or never, what's the word? Oh, fuck.
Never cry over spilled milk.
No, it's basically, if something bad happens, use it to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Harbor, go to war. 9/11, go to war. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, it's one reason why I didn't want to cover it. I knew by the end of the day, I knew we were going to war.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'll be honest, I didn't think it was going to be for 20 fucking years.
Or the longest foreign engagement in U.S. history.
I mean, I did not think that, but I knew what was going to happen. I don't know. I don't want this to be true. I hope and wish the official story is 100% accurate. But I do firmly believe that somebody in the government they knew. Somebody put it together and just said, it won't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sorry, I thought he might be doing it again. He's not. He's
you see him?
Yeah. He's just staring. Fuck you.
All right, so that'll cover this conspiracy theory. I think we're going to take some time off conspiracy theories for a while. We've done enough.
Oh, so now that you decide to do a conspiracy
theory.
I'm
not going to do it. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
I was going to say, that's why I was surprised. You went down my rabbit hole.
I mean, I want to do, there's some, like I said, I want to do chemtrails and weather shit. Because I'm not a super big conspiracy theorist.
It's funny, when I bring them to you, you seem to turn the page a little bit, though.
Oh, I'm open to it. I realize there's some weird shit going on.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, I believe this is no exception. There's a little bit of truth to all these conspiracy theories, and this 9/11 is no exception. There is some truth to the answer is somewhere in the middle.
I agree.
But I don't know. I don't know what you're doing next week. But next one I do, I might try to do some paranormal shit. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how the cookie crumbles.
So, I think we're done unless you got anything.
Yeah.
I
think we've left with the people with enough to think about.
All right. We will see you
Bush did 9/11.
We will see you next week. Thanks for everybody that joined us on this podcast. And take care. Be nice to one another. Give hand jobs. I don't care.
Alex Jones did 9/11.
Yes. Goodbye.